Hello everyone, welcome back to Mastering Bitcoin. We'll be going over the end half of Chapter 1, Bitcoin uses, users, and their stories, getting started with a wallet and your first Bitcoin. So there's many users and uses of Bitcoin. Here's a few examples. A store of value can use it as a hedge against inflation. High dollar retail, such as like a tractor supplier, can use it for lower fees, no fraud available, it saves them. Lower value retail can use it as a tourist hub or a second layer of payment. Say someone doesn't have USD, they only have a Chinese renminbi on them. They can pay with Bitcoin. International contracting, if you need to hire someone overseas to do a new website or do some editing, virtual assistant, they can be paid in Bitcoin. There's no need to go transfer currency to their local currency. And an internet commercial web store, which Cameron Day Custom Websites, my company, we use Bitcoin in a lot of our transactions. And there's a few other ones. Instant Bitcoin uses it well, that I know off the top of my head. So let's meet a girl I know called Alice. No, not that Alice. Alice is a department store manager who lives in Northern California's Bay Area. While at a party, her friend, Joe, is once again enthusiastically explaining Bitcoin to all around him and is offering a demonstration. Intrigued, Alice asks how she can get started with Bitcoin. Joe says that a mobile wallet is best for new users, and he recommends a few of his favorite wallets. Alice downloads MyCLM for Android and installs it on her phone. When Alice runs MyCLM for her first time, as with many of the Bitcoin wallets, the application automatically creates a new wallet for her. The most important part of the screen is Alice's Bitcoin address. On the screen, it appears as a long string of letters and numbers. Next to the wallet's Bitcoin address is a QR code, a form of the barcode that contains the same information and format that can be scanned by a smartphone camera. The QR code is a square with a pattern of black and white dots. Alice can copy the Bitcoin address or the QR code onto her clipboard by tapping the QR code or the receipt button. In most wallets, tapping the QR code will also magnify it, so it can be more easily scanned by a smartphone camera. As a note, this Bitcoin address is there's nothing on it. If you send something to it, you'll lose your Bitcoin forever. Alice buys $10 worth of Bitcoin off of Joe, which at the time of writing is 0.00146 BTC. She gives Joe $10 in cash, opens up her MyCLM app, and then selects Receive. This displays a QR code with Alice's first Bitcoin address. Joe then selects Send on his smartphone wallet and is presented a screen containing two inputs: a destination Bitcoin address and the amount to send. In the input field for the Bitcoin address, there's a small icon that looks like a QR code. This allows Joe to scan the barcode with his smartphone camera so that he doesn't have to type in Alice's Bitcoin address. It's really long, difficult to type, and you can easily mess it up. Everything has to be correct. There's capitalization has to be correct. Everything does. So it's just easier to use a QR code. Joe taps the QR code icon and activates the smartphone camera, scanning the QR code displayed on Alice's smartphone. Joe now has Alice's Bitcoin address set as the recipient. Joe enters the amount as $10, and his wallet converts it by accessing the most recent exchange rate from an online service, which at the time of writing is $7,060 per one Bitcoin. At first, Alice's address will show the transaction from Joe as unconfirmed. This means that the transaction has been propagated to the network, but has not been recorded in the Bitcoin transaction ledger known as the blockchain. To be confirmed, a transaction must be included in a block and added to the blockchain, which happens every 10 minutes on average. In traditional financial terms, this is known as clearing. Alice is now the proud owner of 0.001416 BTC. A week later, Alice buys a cup of coffee at a local coffee shop and uses that Bitcoin. The first and most difficult task for new users is to acquire some Bitcoin. Unlike other foreign currencies, you cannot yet buy Bitcoin at a bank or a foreign exchange kiosk. Bitcoin transactions are irreversible. Most electronic payment networks such as credit cards, debit cards, PayPal, and bank account transfers are reversible. For someone selling Bitcoin, this difference introduces a very high risk situation that the buyer will reverse the electronic payment after they receive the Bitcoin, in effect defrauding the seller. To mitigate this risk, companies accepting traditional electronic payments in return for Bitcoin usually require the buyers to undergo ID verification and creditworthiness checks, which may take several days or weeks. As a new user, this means you cannot buy Bitcoin instantly with a credit card. With a bit of patience and creative thinking, however, you won't need to. Here are some methods for getting Bitcoin as a new user. Find a friend who has Bitcoin. Buy some from him. Many users start this way. This method is the least complicated, and one way to do it is to meet up with people who attend local Bitcoin meetings on meetup.com, and you can find some on Reddit too. Use a classified service such as localbitcoins.com to find a seller in your area to buy Bitcoin for cash in an in-person transaction. MyCLM also has a market for this on the app. Earn Bitcoin by selling a product or service for Bitcoin. If you're a programmer, sell your programming skills. If you're a hairdresser, cut your hair for Bitcoin. Use a Bitcoin ATM in your city. A Bitcoin ATM city is a machine that accepts cash and sends Bitcoin to your smartphone Bitcoin wallet. Find a Bitcoin ATM close to you using an online map from Coin ATM Radar. Link is in the description. Use a Bitcoin currency exchange linked to your bank account. Many countries now have a currency exchange that offer a market for buyers and sellers to swap Bitcoin with local currency. Exchange rate listings such as Bitcoin Average often show a link of exchange for each currency. That's also in the description. Like I said, there's popular exchanges where you can check the rates: Coinbase, Kraken, Bisq. So if you're just now getting to the video, what we know over is addresses, how to send Bitcoin, and how to receive Bitcoin. So a Bitcoin address is a string of characters that represent you in the Bitcoin network. Sending Bitcoin can be done through mobile apps or Bitcoin Core client, and receiving Bitcoin can be the same. It's easiest to start off buying Bitcoin from a friend or a local exchange. Coming up next is transactions, blocks, mining, and the blockchain, how transactions take place, mining Bitcoin, and interactions between the blocks and the blockchain. And if you're in the US, I would like to wish you all happy Thanksgiving. And if you would consider donating to this series, it would really help us keep afloat. And if not, I'll see you all in the next video.